Welcome to the Superhero Cinephiles podcast. I'm your host, Perry Constantine, and this is another rebroadcast episode, continuing with the Black History Month rebroadcast specials that we're running all throughout February. And this week I decided to go with the episode, one of the last episodes Derrick and I recorded, and that is the episode on Steel. One of the running gags throughout the show was we are not going to do Steel. We are not going to do Steel. And Derrick had even put it, we'd even put it as an option on the poll for our 100th episode. Sorry, my son's acting up a little bit here. We put an option on the poll for our 100th episode, and a lot of people said we want you to do Steel. And eventually, Derrick relented, and he decided that he was going to pick Steel for our last Black History Month superhero special. And even though the movie is objectively terrible, we still had a lot of fun talking about it and ripping apart. This was one of my favorite episodes that I recorded with Derrick, so I hope you're going to enjoy listening to this one again.
Man, oh man. I thought my tax dollars went to keeping these windows clean. How you doing, Sparky?
Great.
Is that why you stopped writing me? Didn't you get my letters?
I got him. And the wheelchair you sent, thanks.
Must be awful for you. I could imagine how you feel.
No, you can't.
You're right. I can't. Wish I could turn the clock back.
Sometimes you don't get a choice about things. Shit happens.
Tell me about it. Good cop friend of mine, just badly hurt by one of our weapons. They were on the streets.
How's that possible?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. And I could sure use your help.
Yeah, I'd be a big help on the streets. I don't think so.
What are you gonna do? Just sit here and look out the filthy windows?
I can't.
Girl, you are out of here.
What are you doing? No! Stop it! Irons, I don't want to go!
Listen, Sparks, sometimes you don't get a choice about things. This here's a prime example of shit happening.
No! Put me down!
Welcome to the Superhero Cinephiles podcast. I am your host, Perry Constantine.
And I am the other half, Derrick Ferguson.
How you doing today, Derrick?
I am doing quite well, my friend. How are you doing today? You look well rested.
I do, really. That's kind of surprising because I didn't really get a lot of sleep last night. I went to bed around, 2 in the morning, and I woke up at like 7, so.
Really?
Yeah.
You look like you got in like a full 8, man.
Wow.
Straight.
Well, that's good. I don't feel tired or anything, so that's good too. So, but like we've talked about before, like off air, like I don't really need more than like 5 or 6 hours of sleep. Really, my body's kind of adjusted to that and gotten used to that now.
Yeah, same here. I very rarely sleep more than 5 hours at a time. Unless I've been doing, like I said, unless I've been doing something physical,
right?
Or whatever. Yeah, but 5 hours seems to, and it's been that way most of my life. They say when you get older, your sleep patterns change.
Yeah.
It's.
I remember I had a teacher in high school who, when he was in college, he would only get like 4 hours of sleep a night, and his body got so used to that now he only needs to sleep 4 hours a night.
Yeah. Well, everybody's different. I mean, some people need 8, some people need 10.
Yeah. So we got a new trailer since we last on the show. We got to see a full length trailer of Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah, finally got to see a full length trailer, and I cannot wait.
Yeah.
I mean, after seeing how good after seeing how good a job they did with WandaVision, I'm saying, okay, they're in good hands. I'm not going to worry about this anymore. They're not going to mess it up. This is going to kick ass,
right?
All kinds of ass in sight. So and I mean, we still haven't seen Loki yet. That's what I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah.
Remember the trailer that they had where he did the DB Cooper out the back of the head? I said, okay, I want to see that. this I want to see.
That made me actually watch HBO Max's documentary on DB Cooper, because
really?
I'd never really known anything about this guy, and so then after seeing that in the Loki trailer, I'm like, well, I got to find out more about this. Then I saw that HBO Max had the documentary, and I'm like, oh, okay. So I sat down and watched it.
Yeah, they had made a movie. I believe it was with Treat Williams.
Oh, okay.
Back in the 80s, The Pursuit of D.B. Cooper, where they speculated as to what happened to him after he jumped out the plane, because they never found him and they never found the money, as far as
the documentary has like a few different suspects that it focuses on for like who it might be, and because some of them, like some of these people, they said like, oh yeah, I was DB Cooper.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
so,
they've had a number of people that have come forward and they've said that he. So of course, the first thing that people say is, okay, well, where's the money?
Yeah.
If you are DB Cooper, then where's the money?
Yeah.
Oh, I spent it all. Oh, yeah, all right. Yeah, bullshit. Goodbye.
But yeah, that trailer, and we got the first look of Zemo in action I'm really psyched to get Zemo, and getting him in the comic book costume, no less.
Man, that's a bad coat.
Yeah. I like that they found a way to work in the fur collar and everything.
That's a badass coat. I love that coat, and the mask and everything like that. Yeah, I mean, Baron Zemo. Don't ask me why I love Baron Zemo. I love that. I've always been a big fan of characters like this. So when they showed up in the movie, like Baytrock the Leaper.
Yeah.
I've always loved Baytrock the Leaper, simply because he's just such a goofy, I mean, you're kind of advertising what your gimmick is in your name, pal. Maybe you might want to, so when Captain America ducks out your way, he always goes, Zutta Laws. Well, you leap. It's in your name, dude. You're the leaper. So,
and we're getting Batroc. Speaking of, he's going to be in Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah, listen. Like I said, I love the guy. When he showed up in the movie, I said,
"Oh, that was great." Yeah, and I'm looking forward to seeing. For me, Baron Zemo was. I wouldn't really think much about him. It was until I read Thunderbolts, and particularly Fabian DiCiesa's run on the character, because he found a way to make the character a lot more well developed and well rounded than he's been in the past. Like, it wasn't just like Nazi supervillain. It was. He actually had good reason, like he had gone through like a reformation of sorts, but it wasn't like, oh, I'm totally a good. It was his new modus operandi was like, I'm going to save the world, but to save the world, I have to take it over.
I have to take it over, right?
Yeah,
which is pretty much the modus operandi of most supervillains. Like your Dr. Dooms and your and your Red Skulls. Who basically they all say, well, you know what, the world would run much better if I were in charge. They don't want to necessarily kill anybody, because it's no fun ruling a planet if you don't have anybody to rule over. But that's basically their modus operandi. Things would run much better if I were in charge.
Yeah.
But I'm always Zemo, the way they handled him in the movie, what was it, Civil War?
Yeah.
They showed up in Civil War, because you know what? We finally got to see a supervillain actually accomplish his aim.
Yes.
He wanted to break up the Avengers, destroy the Avengers, and he did that.
Yeah.
You don't see this too often, where the supervillain actually, his master plan, he actually pulls it off.
Well, that was the thing too. Remember at the end of the movie when Everett Ross asked him, how does it feel to have it all fail so spectacularly? And Zemo's like, did it?
Yeah.
And he really did. He succeeded in what he intended to do.
When you think about it, you go back and you think about it, you say, he did. Good for you, Zemo.
And Daniel Bruhl, like he was just amazing.
Oh, he killed it.
Yeah, yeah.
He
So
killed. He was so methodical and he was so logical, and you know, he wasn't the ranty shouting, you know, making speeches kind of super. He just calmly went about his plan step by step by step.
Right.
Yeah. And I said, okay, see, this is a dangerous cat.
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how they handle him moving forward into this series.
Yes, I am. You know, and again, that's a testament to how well they've done the MCU, when we're not only looking forward to the heroes, but the villain as well.
Yeah. And especially
just as much as we want to see the heroes.
Right. And especially because now it's a longer form. So we get to, and you know, Civil War was so stuffed with so many characters. It was amazing that he got as much character development that he did, but now we're going to get even more of it. So I'm totally on board for all that. That's
one of the amazing things about Civil War. Like you said, as many characters as they had, some that just got introduced, like Spider-Man and Black Panther, but still everybody, you know, got their moment, and it didn't feel. It's amazing how they did that with that many characters, and yet the movie did not feel rushed at all.
Well, I mean, also the Vision, because that was like the first. Because, he was introduced in Age of Ultron, but he came in right at the end. He didn't get a whole lot to do in that movie. But in Civil War, like, I was surprised at how much Vision we got.
Yeah, we got a whole lot of Vision. And again, it didn't feel like it was rushed. It didn't feel like, okay, so, you know, well, I didn't feel shorted at all by it. You know, it was just, you know, Civil War is just an amazing piece next to, I mean, you know, the Winter Soldier. Which, okay, well, first of all, as much as I love Thor and Black Panther, I will always tell people that the Captain America trilogy, that's the crown jewel.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. I mean, 3 movies of such consistent quality and pacing and characterization and special effects and, you know, emotional resonance and action, you know, you don't see that.
And it broke the trilogy curse, right? Because most trilogies, you got the first one's good, second one's the best, and the third one kind of shits the bed. This one did not have that happen.
This is the one where all 3 movies kick ass. They're all excellent. I mean, it's just remarkable. It is. And I mean, I find myself a lot of times going back and just watching the Captain America trilogy all at one shot, like Saturday afternoon. I'm not doing anything. I say, you know what? I'm just going to binge Captain America because he deserves it. He does. He deserves that shit, you know. Yeah, it's really good. And again, like we said before, Chris Evans. I mean, you know, I mean, it's going to be a long time before they can find somebody that's going to play Captain America. When like, I guess 50 years from now, they say, okay, well, we're going to do another Captain America movie, which would probably take that long for us to forget Chris Evans.
Yeah, it's oh, excuse me. But yeah, it's just amazing series, and but I want to talk about a few other things too. Is we're getting closer to Superman and Lois coming out, and some early reviews have been dropping on the internet, and the consensus is it's pretty damn good.
Yeah, that's what I've been hearing from various people. I know somebody actually saw a screener, and they said it was a lot better than he thought that it's going to be, you know, which seems to be the consensus from everybody, you know.
Yeah. Well,
from my understanding, though, it's a little bit more removed from like the Arrowverse. And,
it seems like there's not a whole lot of direct ties. So I mean, we know it's part of the Arrowverse because there was supposed to be a crossover with Batwoman that was only canceled because of COVID restrictions. So we do know it is part of the Arrowverse, but they haven't connected anything to it in the premiere, at least.
Well, really, that's all you need to know.
Yeah,
that is part of it. But I think that's what's happening is that's deliberate because, of course, we don't have Arrow anymore.
Right.
We don't have Supergirl anymore. You know.
Well, we're gonna get one more season of Supergirl. So
one more season of Supergirl. Yeah. But we'll probably get like one more big crossover.
Right. Well, I don't know if we'll get one in Supergirl's last season just because of all the COVID stuff. Because they hadn't announced a big crossover. The only crossover that had been announced was between Batwoman and Superman and Lois, which was canceled because of the restrictions.
Okay.
So I don't think Supergirl will get another big crossover.
I can't help but feel that we are, because since it is Supergirl's last season, they would want to do something.
Oh, I think there might be something like that. Like they might have, Clark and Lois appear in Supergirl, or Kara will appear in Superman and Lois, or something like that. But I'm talking like the big, universe-wide crossover, like Crisis.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll see anything like that again. And something really after Crisis on Infinite Earths. I mean, how do you top that?
Right. Yeah.
That's like trying to top, the Infinity War.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do it.
Also, some other news that came out. Did you hear who the rumor is that Keanu Reeves, because we talked about Keanu Reeves might be joining the MCU, and the casting rumor right now is that they're talking to him about playing Kraven.
Kraven the Hunter.
Yeah.
I can think of some other people.
Yeah, well,
nothing against Keanu Reeves. I love Keanu Reeves, but I can see other people.
The one fan casting that I've seen that I think is perfect is Carl Urban.
Yeah, Carl Urban could play anything.
Yeah,
I look at him and I can see Kraven more than I can see.
Wait, I mean, look at him in The Boys. Like, he looks like Kraven.
Yeah.
And looks like there's also going to be a Powerpuff Girls live action series on the CW.
Why?
I don't know. It's a weird series to go live action with, because I mean, I haven't really seen it very much, but it just seems like it was such a it's a property that seems so tailored specifically for animation that it seems like a weird thing to want to do that in live action.
I don't know why is it that we in our pop culture world, we have such a hard time letting things for kids just stay for kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because what they're going to do? They're going to, make them teenagers, and it's going to be all of this other teenager angst BS that's going to come in here and stuff like that. Whereas, the Powerpuff, the animated series, was really cute little animated series, about these three girls that had superpowers, and it was sweet and cute and innocent. And it was a cute show. Yeah. But nobody is content to just let anything be. It's like when what was that show? Batman Brave and the Bold. Batman Brave and the Bold, when that came out, there was a lot of backlash against it because it was a lighter Batman.
Right.
So it was a little bit more jokey, it was a little bit more comical and stuff like that. And people had a hard time with that. And I said, well, Batman is the type of character that you can fit him into all those different types of formats. And he works.
Yeah.
Batman can work in a comedy. He can work in the ultra serious. He can work in between. He can work, like if he, the movie you've probably seen, it, Gotham by Gaslight.
Right, yeah.
He's in Victorian era and he's fighting Jack the Ripper, or what is it? I haven't seen it yet, but I want to see it, Batman Ninja.
Yeah, that was good too.
Yeah. I mean, Batman's that type of character. He can work in a whole variety, a lot of different things. He doesn't have to be locked into, the Dark Knight. Right.
Well, speaking of Batman Brave and the Bold, like I just watched the first episode because now it's on HBO Max, and and it was a bit jokier and everything, but I went in that expecting after hearing about the show for so many years, but it was entertaining. It was definitely entertaining, and it was
a lot of fun.
And it's so funny seeing Derrick Bader as because he voices Batman in that, but he also voices Batman in Harley Quinn, which is much more of like the Dark Knight version of the character.
Yeah.
And he's able to and he does them both really well. So it's really cool to see him do it and have both those two different takes on the character.
And it's amazing that he evokes the spirit of Kevin Conroy without imitating Kevin Conroy.
Right. I mean,
which is what I really like.
Yeah, and it's so funny because I never would have thought Derrick Bader as Batman, right? It's just,
yeah. Out of all the actors that you would have told me would have voiced Batman, he would have probably been in my bottom 10.
Right.
Even though I like him. I like Diedrich Bader a lot.
Yeah, I do too. And so it was really funny seeing him in that. And so anyway, but along with that, I've been doing a lot of catching up on HBO Max. So I finished. I'm all caught up on Titans. I finished season 2 of Titans.
Okay.
I'm almost all caught up on Doom Patrol. I'm up to like episode 6 of the second season of Doom Patrol.
Okay.
And there's like I've got like 4 episodes left of Doom Patrol.
Okay.
But yeah, it's been good. Titans. You know what's interesting about Titans season 2 is they introduced Bruce Wayne, because he was always kind of like a background character in season 1, like, you know, and there was this like nightmare sequence or some kind of thing where when Dick Grayson goes after Raven and Trigun, he ends up having this magic induced hallucination where he imagines like going back to Gotham and Batman's like gone insane, and so you see him fight Batman, but you never see it like Batman like in full, right? So but this, you know, season 2 of Titans, they introduced Bruce Wayne, and it was really surprising based on what we saw in season 1, because they have Ian Glenn playing him. And you know, he's not who you think of when you think of Batman, and he appeared in I think it was the end of the first episode of season 2. And I was so surprised when I saw it. I'm like, wait, that's Bruce Wayne? Because it's just, he doesn't look the part. But as the series went on, I kind of got a little bit more interested in it, because there's this one part where Dick starts hallucinating that he's seen Bruce Wayne is almost like he starts hallucinating he's seeing Bruce Wayne and Ian. And there's one scene where Dick Grayson is trying to track down Deathstroke.
Okay.
And he goes to this one nightclub to talk to the owner of the nightclub, because she has connections to Wintergreen, and it's like a burlesque show. And you see and he hallucinates seeing Bruce Wayne dancing on stage, and Ian Glenn does the Batusi.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
That's cool. I like that. That's cool.
And it was interesting seeing him in action as Bruce Wayne, because he's got this like. He's this interesting mix. It's like he's almost like a cross between Michael Keaton and Adam West in some ways. So it's
really,
yeah, it was this interesting little mix, because he's not, you know, as Dark Knight, but you could see him as an older version of Michael Keaton's Batman.
Oh, okay, cool. Now, the more you talking, the more I'm intrigued. I said, damn, I gotta say. And I keep saying, oh, I'm gonna watch this. And then I keep getting distracted by all the bright, shiny things. But now that you're telling me this, yeah, now I definitely want to sit down and watch.
Yeah, season 1 was a lot more grounded. It was a lot slower. But season 2, they leaned in more into the superhero stuff, right? You get like when you get Deathstroke in there, and they do an interesting take on Jericho as well, and you got Ravager in there and all this kind of stuff. And it looks like season 3. They're going to have Barbara Gordon in it as Oracle. So they've already cast. They've cast a disabled actress to play her.
Oh, very good, very good.
So yeah.
But I think that when you say that, you know, because season 1 was on DC Universe, and they really didn't know where they was going to go with this or how they wanted to play it and everything like that. I think that now that they know definitely, okay, well, we're on HBO Max now, and we know we got a home, and we know we got to do it. So now they know where they want to go and what they want to do with the series.
Yeah, and we also get Superboy and Crypto in season 2. So it was really cool seeing both of them, and I was surprised we got Crypto. I knew we were going to get Superboy, but I was not expecting to see Crypto in live action.
Nobody ever expects Crypto.
No, and they did it like it's comic book Crypto. Like he's got the superpowers, he flies, he has heat vision, he's got the whole thing.
If you're gonna do Crypto, do Crypto.
They did Crypto. He doesn't get the cape though, unfortunately, but he does get everything.
Okay.
But yeah, it was. Yeah.
Does it have the little collar with the S shield though?
No, he doesn't have the little collar. He does have like a collar, and it does say Crypto on it, but maybe season 3 will get it.
Okay, because there was an animated Crypto series where he had the cape, and he also had the collar with the little S shield.
Yeah.
Which I liked.
So we might see that in season 3. But yeah, I was surprised how much they leaned into it, because they bring in Superboy, they bring in they mentioned Lex Luthor, and they have Mercy Graves as like one of the main antagonists of the season. And we finally get the season ends with, you know, Dick finally suiting up as Nightwing. So it's
okay.
So yeah, I'm looking now after seeing that. I'm really looking forward to season 3 because they're going to have Barbara Gordon as Oracle. I mentioned they're also going to have Tim Drake, which is interesting because season 3 ended with Jason Todd kind of abandoning the Robin role, and they've cast Tim Drake, but I don't know why they did this with him, but they basically gave him Jason Todd's backstory. Like they make him like a kid from the streets and everything like that. And I'm not sure why they did it. And also a little bit more problematically
so why didn't they just bring in Jason Todd?
Well, they did. He was in season 1 and 2, but he left at the end of season 2. Like he abandoned the role of Robin, and you see him like hopping on a motorcycle and riding off somewhere. But I don't know why they gave him basically Jason Todd's backstory when Tim Drake has an interesting one of his own. But even more stranger is that they got a black actor playing Tim Drake. So I'm like, why do you give him the stereotypical, you know, black kid background when you already had this, you know, this other background that you could have used from the comic books?
And you know, well, we've discussed this before. I'm really not a big fan of race switching just to be doing it. I'm really not, you know, and I get criticized for this all the time. They say, I say, no, you know what? When it comes to, you know, creating, you know, let's create our own black heroes. Let's not take white heroes and, you know, that's your guys' heroes, you know.
Well, the interesting thing about Tim Drake is he was kind of originally designed to be black. Because if you look back, because I think we talked about this when we talked about Batman Returns, is that when they redesigned, I don't know if it was Tim Drake specifically, but one of the first Tim Drake action figure we got was a Black Robin, basically.
I remember we were discussing that when because Marlon Wayans.
Right. Yeah. So if you look at the Tim Drake Robin action figure from the 1992 Batman Returns toy line, he's got darker complexion. He's got like the high top hair and everything. So yeah.
And I know I get this all the time from people because they say, well, it really doesn't make a difference. Well, yeah, I mean, to me, it does make a difference. Like, you know, I argue with people all the time when they say, Idris Elba, you know, to play James Bond.
Right.
I say, well, no. Well, why not? Because James Bond is a white man. If you're going to make him a black man, then you're going to have to change everything about him, the circumstances of his background and everything like that. And when you do that, it's a new character. It's a different character. You know, I'm not a fan of just plugging in the characters. Now, some characters, and see, now people are going to say, see, Derrick's full of shit now. So, but some characters you can do that with, like James Gordon. You can make James Gordon a black man.
Right.
You know, he's just that type of character that you don't have to change anything about his background.
Right.
You know, to make him black, which is, I guess, what I'm really trying to say here, that in order to make certain characters black, you have to change their background.
Right, yeah.
And that's what I'm opposed to, that, you know, leave their background. That's that character's background.
Yeah.
You know, like whenever you start talking about a black Batman, you can have a black Batman, but you can't have a black Bruce Wayne.
Right, yeah.
I don't know. That's just my thing. I don't know. I'm really not a fan of it, especially because you don't see a lot of it going the other way. You don't see a lot of black characters being turned white.
Yeah.
You know, you don't see a lot. You don't see, say, okay, well, Matthew McConaughey is going to play John Shaft. You know, you don't see that.
Yeah.
You know, so it's one of my particular bugaboos, and people say I'm crazy, but you know, whatever. But anyway, in the case of Tim Drake, I'm still interested in seeing it anyway. You know, even though, you know.
Well, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, I think this is going to be the first time we're getting Tim Drake in live action.
Yeah, I've never heard about him. Although, okay, in the folks, you know we were going to talk about it anyway. In Justice League, when there's the costume, the Robin costume. Is
Right.
that supposed to be Drake's costume or Jason Todd's?
My assumption is it's Jason Todd because
Okay.
because they got the message from the Joker on it, so it seems like that.
Right.
So yeah, it seems like it was Jason Todd's costume.
Okay. Okay.
But even still, there was nobody who actually played him, right? There's no
Right. Nobody actually played
Right.
him.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was just wondering but I guess when we see the 4-hour version, we'll, what did you think about the thing with the the Jared Leto?
Oh, I saw that the new image they released, and it's much better than what we got in Suicide Squad. I mean, I don't know what the hell they were thinking with that glam rock reject, but so it's a much better look. And like I said, and Jared Leto's a good actor, right? He's he was, and I said like he was really creepy in The Little Things. And if they played the Joker more like that, it would have been interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does with Morbius in that upcoming movie. So like, and he was great in what was it? The Blade Runner sequel too.
Yeah, Jared Leto is a good actor.
He's a good actor, yeah. But it's just the choices he made with the Joker were just really bizarre.
Yeah, he really needed for somebody to just sit him down and say, "Listen,
yeah,
you may want to dial it down a little."
Yeah.
Speaking of news, I read something today, and I even wrote it down. I wrote a note. I said, "Ask Perry about this." What do you think about this thing with what's his name, Josh Whedon?
I was actually just about to bring that up. But yeah, so this was I just saw this morning, right before we started, where Charisma Carpenter released this really long statement about in support of Ray Fisher's allegations against Josh Whedon, and she was saying about how like inappropriate and abusive he was, like verbally, not physically abusive to her on the set of Angel, and and she says that she spent years like trying to make excuses for it and all this, and she's gotten some support too, like Amber Benson, who played Tara. She also backed Carpenter's statement. She said Buffy was a toxic environment and it starts at the top. Charisma is speaking truth, and I support her 100%. There was a lot of damage done during that time, and many of us are still processing it 20 plus years later. And now Sarah Michelle Gellar has come out as well, and she said that she didn't share any specifics, but she said that while I'm proud to have my name associated with Buffy Summers, I don't want to be forever associated with the name Josh Whedon. I stand with all survivors of abuse, and I'm proud of them for speaking out. So she was speaking out, and she was doing that in support of what Charisma Carpenter had said. So and that adds more weight to what Fisher has said, although I still don't know why Fisher isn't providing any of these details about this.
Yeah, we talked about this before, where listen, dude, if you got something to say, say it.
Right. Yeah.
And stop, hitting and throwing out crumbs here and there, and if you got something to say, just say it and just let the chips fall where they may.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I wonder if he's holding back for something. Maybe he's, I don't know, and this is just pure speculation, something that just came into my head, but I wonder if he's waiting to see how people respond to his beefed up role in Snyder's Justice League. And maybe that'll give him some leverage into coming back to the role. I don't know. That's just something that occurred to me. And maybe that's why he's not, airing out all the dirty laundry yet.
That's the only thing that I can think of, that he's hoping that he can have some sort of future with this franchise or whatever it's going to be. And that's why he's playing it close to the vest.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, I don't know. Whereas you got other actors like Charisma Carpenter who, they're already done with Josh Whedon. They don't, so they have nothing to lose by going ahead and just, letting it all hang out.
Right.
They got nothing to lose because they're done with him,
Yeah, well, it looks like everybody's done with Josh Whedon now. The guy's going to have because he was taken off the, what was it, that series he did for HBO. Right. Can't remember what it was called right now, but he had created the series for HBO, and they had parted ways with him when all this stuff started coming out. So,
that's something that you have to look for when you look at certain directors and actors, and you see that people don't work with them again. They work with them one time, and then you see they, like they never work with them again.
Mm-hmm.
It's something, you say, okay, well, there's something like what's his name, George Lucas. George Lucas doesn't, because he's not a people director. He really got no interest in working with actors. So you don't see actors work with him again. It's not like people. You don't hear people say, "Well, I'm dying to work with George Lucas."
Because he famously didn't want Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones.
No, he didn't. No, they don't get along. They don't get along. A large part of that whole thing about Harrison Ford not wanting to come back to Return of the Jedi, because the whole carbonite thing, and I tell people this all the time, and I say, I'm not making this up. The whole thing with carbonite was because they did not know if Harrison Ford was going to come back. Right. That's how much he hated working with George Lucas.
Well, yeah, when people think of the Star Wars movies, like everyone, in retrospect, everyone has this impression that it was one big saga all planned out from the start, but it really wasn't. They were doing it one movie at a time.
No, he made that shit up.
Oh, yeah.
He had that lie for years that he had this vault where all the Star Wars movies. No, I mean, if you look at it, you can tell that the stories don't jive. Right. I mean, it really does, especially if you're like me and you watch all the Star Wars movies. I mean, the plot holes, you could tell that he was making this shit up as But yeah, nobody knew if Harrison Ford was going to come back. Perfect. And this is a visual cue that I tell everybody. I say, go back and look at The Empire Strikes Back. The scene where Billy D. Williams is in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon. Okay, he's sitting there. Chewbacca is there. What is Billy D. Williams?
He's dressed like Han Solo.
He's dressed like Harrison Ford. Thank you. He's got the vest and the because he was intended to take over if Harrison Ford didn't come back.
And that's why he didn't have. That's why he didn't really have a big role in Return of the Jedi, because they didn't really know what to do with him.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't know what they were going to do with him. And if it turned out that Harrison Ford didn't come back, the thing was that they were going to rescue him and throw him out of the carbonite, and he was going to be dead. They were still going to have the rescue and everything like that, but they were going to throw him out, and you wouldn't see his face and whatnot. But they would say he was dead. They would have a funeral for him, and then bam, we move on from there. But he did come back, and we got what we got. But nobody knew what to do with Billy D. Williams.
So anyway, the Charisma Carpenter thing. I'm not going to read the whole statement because it's a pretty long statement, but I recommend everybody go look it up. She posted it on Twitter. It's been on all the articles about it. They have the whole statement quoted, so it's something that definitely deserves to be read.
But let me ask you something about Joss Whedon, because I've always been of the mind that Joss Whedon, this is a guy, to me, that bent over backwards. And to me, that made me suspicious that he bent over backwards to make himself out to be like this big feminist champion and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, apparently that's because there's the famous quote that was circling around for years when he said that this famous quote where a journalist asked him, why do you do these, movies and TV shows focusing on strong female characters? And he said, and his response was, because you keep asking me that question. Apparently that whole thing is fabricated.
Really?
Yeah, that never actually happened.
Okay.
He put that out there to try and bolster his image. And when you look back at, Buffy was very forward thinking in its depiction of women, but when you look back at it now in retrospect, there's stuff that is, pretty iffy about it. It's a series that hasn't really aged that well.
Yeah, it really hasn't. Not like Angel.
Right. Angel has aged a little bit better. It's a lot more, it's a bit more timeless than Buffy is. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see, because usually how this starts is when one person starts speaking out and other people start adding their voices, it's like the floodgates open. So I think we're going to be getting a lot more stories about this in the days and weeks ahead.
So what do you think? You think Joss Whedon is just gonna, lay low for a while? And
I think he's going to be, I think he's going to be persona non grata for a while. Well, I'm pretty sure the dude's got plenty of money, so I don't think he has to worry too much. So, I mean, he's got Avengers money, so.
Yeah, he'll be all right.
And he still owns, Buffy, Angel, Firefly. He's still, getting residuals from that stuff because they've got, they got Boom Studios is doing Buffy, Angel, and Firefly comics. So
Yeah.
he's got stuff coming in anyway. And I don't want to say that we should discontinue those stories. I think those stories have grown beyond Whedon anyway by this point.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, and I probably said this before, that one of the curses of our society now is because we consume stuff so quickly that we forget.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody who we've vilified and raked over the coals in January, by August they're back, and we've forgotten all about what they did in January because we've already raked somebody else, half a dozen other actors or writers or directors or whatever, what have you. We've moved on to the next person, the savage.
Right.
So by the time, certain amount of time has gone by, and we said, oh, that guy? What did he do again? We don't even remember because we've forgotten, because we just moved it on that fast. So I say give him about 2 or 3 years and he's going to be back with a Buffy reboot.
Well, we'll see. I know there's a Buffy reboot being I'm not sure if it's a reboot or continuation or something like that, but there's something that they're doing something with Buffy, like either a reboot or a continuation or something like that. I don't know what the current news on that, because I haven't heard anything about that probably since before COVID started.
I don't know why he just didn't do something like, Tales of the Slayers, and like every season do a different story about a different Slayer. And this way you could do one like in, Victorian England.
Well, I don't think he's actually involved in the reboot at all. So I don't think he's actually involved in it. Just like Disney, because now that Disney, bought all the Fox properties, they've got the Firefly rights.
Right.
And there was something, I'm not sure if it's been confirmed or not, but there was something recently that they're talking about doing a reboot of Firefly.
Okay.
So, I mean, we'll have to see what happens. Obviously, I'm pretty sure Whedon's not going to be involved in either of those projects now after all this has come out, but we'll see what happens going forward.
Yeah, but he'll still collect the check.
He'll still collect the checks, yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? At this stage in his life, he doesn't want to work that hard.
Yeah.
Not like he did when Firefly was first on. He doesn't want to work that
hard. Right. Okay, so yeah, that's basically all the big news I wanted to talk about. So that means time to move into. I fucking hate you for making me watch this movie.
Well, like I said, you know what? I said, let's get it over with, because it's been the running gag since we started this thing, where I've threatened people with it all the time. And you know what? I finally got tired of threatening people. I said, you know what? It's not fair to keep threatening people with steel. Yeah. So I said, you know what?
It's been the sword of Damocles hanging over my head ever since this running gag started. I'm just like, one day he's gonna say we gotta watch. One day, yeah. One day I'm
gonna pull the trigger. And I said, so yeah. So of course we're talking about the 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 alleged superhero movie starring Shaquille O'Neal, Steel.
Yeah. Now, you know what's surprising about this is, well, two things. First off, so this came out in 97, right? And I was...
Let me ask you something. Was this your actual first time watching it?
No. I saw it, I didn't see it in the theaters, I don't think, but I did see it when it came out on VHS back in the day.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so this came out in 97, and so here's the thing. Like, back in the day, when I was a kid, right? When you're a kid, you like pretty much every movie you watch.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't really understand how to you don't really have any sense of what your taste is yet.
Exactly. Yeah.
The first two movies, I can actively remember hating the first when I saw them, Batman and Robin and Steel.
Okay, fair enough.
These are the two movies that when I watched them, I'm like, oh my God, this is terrible.
I did not see this in the theater either. And I remember seeing it because it became like a staple on HBO for a while, and I do know it was more popular on VHS than it was in the movie theaters, It became like a thing where, people rented for the kids.
Well, actually, I read the trivia on this movie. Because remember, Batman and Robin famously bombed at the box office, right?
Right.
Steel grossed less in its entire run than Batman and Robin made in its first weekend.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's how much. So you think about how bad Batman and Robin bombed.
Mm-hmm.
Steel bombed like 10 times worse.
What? You know what? Because, okay, this was during the period Shaquille O'Neal was doing Shaquille O'Neal was trying to be a rapper.
It was such a weird, looking back, it's such a weird time when I remember, because I remember being around with this. Like you had Shaq Fu, the video game on Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
He was doing movies like Kazam, and he was
trying.
And he was like a video game star. He was a rapper. He was an actor. Looking back in retrospect, I'm like, how did we not realize how fucking stupid this all was?
He was doing everything except playing basketball, which is what he was supposed to be doing.
Pretty much.
And it's very interesting seeing how his career now is an extension of what he was doing then, because you see him. I mean, it's like half a dozen different products that he's the spokesman for Icy Hot and for the General Insurance. And
okay, so we were talking about how much it bombed. So the budget, $16 million.
Really?
$16 million for this piece of shit. Guess what the worldwide gross was?
What?
1.7 million.
Wow. I'm more surprised they spent $16 million because this thing looks like a TV movie.
It is such a TV movie, and it's like, and so here's the weird thing too is it was written and directed by Kenneth Johnson, who has done good stuff. Right? He did the Incredible Hulk TV show. He did the V miniseries. He did the Bionic Woman and all this kind of stuff. And then he does this. And one of the funny things, I'm watching this movie and I'm just like, I'm sitting there and I'm watching like the annoying black kid, Martin, who was like every 90s cliche of a black kid.
Oh, played by Ray J.
Yeah.
Ray, who I can't stand anyway. I don't know. There's something about Ray J that irks me.
Mm-hmm.
That irks me. And I'm watching this, and actually, out of all the actors in this movie that I wish would get killed, he's the one. Not even Shaquille O'Neal, who, you know what, to give him his due, he has like a sweet kind of sincerity that, I can go with because he's playing this straight, for the most part. But Ray J, like you said, he's like the most annoying stereotype black kid. There's never been a black kid in the history of black kids that existed like this annoying little shit.
And I'm watching him and I'm thinking, I'm like, has Kenneth Johnson ever talked to a black kid in his life?
If you go by the dialogue, period, white and black characters, nobody in this movie, there's not a single believable line of dialogue in this entire movie. People simply do not talk like this.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, he took the script he wanted to make sure that he got the dialogue right. So he took the script to people in, what was it? He took a copy of the script to South Central, Los Angeles, and he spent a day with a group of kids to make sure the language was correct, which makes me think these kids were just fucking with him.
Yeah. Because I'm sitting there and I'm listening to some of the stuff that is coming out of Ray J's mouth, and really, I just want to reach in and just strangle him, because he's just so annoying from start to finish. And but like I said, as far as the dialogue goes, nobody in this movie talks like a human being. Nobody talks. This is scripted dialogue. It sounds like scripted dialogue. And like you said, Kenneth Johnson, the only thing that I can figure is that somebody came to him and said, listen, I need a favor. Could you write and direct this?
And Quincy Jones was involved in was producing this.
Yeah, Quincy Jones was producing this.
When I saw the name in the crowd, I'm like, that can't be Quincy. Not the same Quincy Jones. It's got to be a different. No, same Quincy Jones.
Yeah, same Quincy Jones. I mean, like you said, it was a weird time. But my understanding is that Shaquille O'Neal is a big comic book fan, as a lot of actors are and stuff like that. He even has that suit, which is shown prominently.
Right.
He's got the tattoo, the Superman tattoo that says Man of Steel. So we're supposed to infer, because of course they can't use the origin from the comic book, and for all intents and purposes,
which is something I'm like, why can't you? Because this is a Warner Brothers movie, and they were working on. So this shows how stupid studios were back in the '90s and how little they could think about this stuff going forward, because they were doing Superman Lives at this time. They were planning Superman Lives. So they had a Death of Superman story, and the smart thing to do would have been to tie this movie into that.
Well, no, they didn't want to do that because this was a vehicle strictly for Shaquille O'Neal. This movie was sold solely on you want to see Shaquille O'Neal play a superhero.
Yeah.
That's what it was sold at. That's why it was so completely divorced from, the Superman franchise, because it's set in Los Angeles. It's not set in Metropolis.
Yeah.
Basically you have him playing John Henry Irons, who is now a military weapons developer. And he's working with Judd Nelson, who is a hoot in this movie. Judd Nelson's like the only one that just says fuck it, really.
Also, Annabeth Gish she actually does a pretty decent job.
Yeah, she does. Yeah, she does. And I'm going to talk about her and the relationship with her and John Henry Irons, but there's really not an accident, because Judd Nelson's character, who should be having "I'm the movie's bad guy" sign hanging right from the first scene we see him. I'm this movie's bad guy.
I mean, his logic in that beginning scene doesn't even make sense. I'm like, why are you even turning it to the highest setting? It just...
Well, see, that's the problem with this movie. Everything in this movie happens because the script says it has to happen.
Yeah.
There's no character. I mean, first of all, the characterization is flat as a pancake.
Oh, I mean, I think even that is doing it justice.
There is absolutely no characterization in this. The characters, and I am flattering them by calling them characters. They do what they do because it's scripted that they do it. There's no rhyme or reason why they do what they do. They do it because the script says that they have to do it. Now, see, I lost my train of thought.
We're talking about the characters. You're talking about Judd Nelson.
Right. Judd Nelson is like he's like the only guy in this movie that like says, you know what, fuck it. I'm just gonna, because he plays this bad guy that is such a bad guy. That's the only way I could put it. He comes right out the army after he's killed the senator and crippled, one of his fellow soldiers, and apparently all they do is just give him a slap on the wrist and say, okay, we'll get the hell out of here.
Well, something else is like he goes, I mean, okay, if you're trying to become an illegal arms dealer and you're going to take these experimental weapons and you're going to put them out on the streets to attract attention of these international buyers, why would you go to the neighborhood of the guy who designed the weapons and who knows who you are?
I mean, why do you go to a video game developer?
Yeah. Oh my God. And that guy that is like the most stereotypical 90s villain ever.
I mean, okay, we see that he's, moving weapons. He's selling weapons that's on the side and everything like that. But yeah, like, wouldn't you go like to actual arms dealers?
Yeah.
And say, okay, I got these new weapons and, let's work together. Wouldn't you actually go to them?
And why would you put them out on the streets when you could go to, like, you don't need these weapons to be demonstrated on the street. You could go to any dictator and be like, hey, look at this shit. And smuggling in them in arcade games is just completely bizarre.
Why do you go to North Korea?
Yeah.
And say, oh, listen, look at what I got here. I have actual United States weapons. And apparently nobody followed up with Judd Nelson after he left to make sure that he, I don't know. Like I said, if you think about this movie, if you give any ounce of brain power to try to figure out this movie, your head is going to hurt.
Yes.
Massively, because that's how brain dead it is. That's how, First of all, the notion that Shaquille O'Neal, a guy who's over 7 feet tall.
That's another thing.
How long did you think it would take before people would figure out that you're Steel?
Like, there's that scene when they're interviewing the old couple, right? Who look just like the Oswald Cobblepot's parents from Batman Returns.
Yeah.
And it's just like the most stereotypical old white couple you can imagine, old rich white couple. And they're interviewing them, and they're like, yeah, he's this, he's very tall. He's like 7 feet tall, black, and he's very polite. And you got his grandmother watching, and she's just like, huh.
Who do I know who's like that? Who's over 7 feet tall and very polite? Not
only that, but everybody knows he's a genius weapons developer because he's getting all these job offers from weapons developers.
Even his grandmother says, "Oh, you got all these job offers. They're on your bed."
So you got how many? So I wonder, in Los Angeles, how many 7 foot tall black weapons developers you got walking around?
I mean, and people are. Well, I wonder who that guy walking around in that armor, that giant in the armor could be. You think it could be John Henry Irons? No, it couldn't be him. It's the complete opposite of like Fistus, where people complain about Michael Keaton, okay, as Batman. I said, no, well, he's perfect because he doesn't look like he could be Batman. That's the whole thing. He doesn't look like he could be Batman. So it works, but
there's only one person who could be Steel.
Really, they have a police lineup at one point. And the guy says, okay, we'll pick him out. And I mean, like Shaquille O'Neal is like, he towered over everybody else. And the guy's actually scratching his head and he's having a hard time picking. But I don't know. Maybe it could be him. Maybe. Lord have mercy.
Is actually, he knew it was him. But he's like, all right, this guy's doing some good for the community.
Yeah. It's that old thing. The guy's doing good in the community.
And that guy looks so much like Reginald Vell Johnson, but it's not Reginald Vell Johnson.
Right, yeah. That's
what I was scratching my head. I'm like, I'm watching this movie, and the entire time I'm thinking, is that Reginald Vell Johnson? I'm looking at IMDb and everything.
Yeah.
I'm devoting more brain power to that than I am to paying attention to the movie.
I haven't seen this movie in about 20 years. This is like the first. I watched it today, and today was like the first time I watched it in like 20 years. And I thought, so wait a minute, is that Reginald Vell Johnson? No, that's not him. And I had to look like close at him, like a couple of times because I thought it was him at first. But they do have a lot of familiar faces, like there's Richard Roundtree.
Oh God, the Shaft joke.
Oh,
I'm just like, even Shaq looks like. Are you fucking serious? What am I doing here?
Yeah, I mean, both him and Annabelle Gish, they like look at him like, really? And Richard Roundtree, I'm surprised that he even said that line instead of turning to the director and said, I hope you don't really expect me to say this.
He does have the best line in the movie, though.
What's that?
Well, I'll be dipped in shit and rolled in breadcrumbs.
Now, see, again, who talks like that?
I'm pretty sure Richard Roundtree ad-libbed that line.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. For some reason,
because that's the only reaction that's the only line of dialogue that actually seems like someone would say that Richard Roundtree would actually say that.
When I heard it, I said, I know he didn't say what I just thought he said. Okay. Well, we have Judd Nelson. We have Charles Napier, who plays John Irons' commanding officer.
Right, yeah.
And he's always entertaining to see. He also looks like he's having a good time. He doesn't have a lot to do, but what he does, he looks like he's enjoying himself.
Yeah.
Doing it. And of course, they set it up that we get kind of like the intimation that he's going to be in the background helping Steel, in return for, his assistance or whatever.
Right.
That is an amusing thing where he has the voice thing to make his voice sound like Arnold Schwarzenegger. When he's talking to him.
Yeah. And
that was amusing. That was one of the very amusing bits in this movie that sorely needs amusement.
Yeah, Irma P. Hall as well, who's got this weird idea to do this fusion. And then I guess in Los Angeles they don't have zoning laws because she just opened the restaurant in her front yard.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. She's got, tables and chairs all over the sidewalk and everything like that. People are just sitting there having a good time eating and everything like that. So I was like, oh, okay, cool.
And when there's just so much in this movie that's just so bad. I mean, I don't know where to begin. And the weird little, the 90s movies had this weird thing where if there are two characters who have a close relationship, they have to have some sort of bonding gesture.
Yeah.
Right? So it was like him and Sparks, they do like this ET type thing where they touch each other's fingers.
Yeah, the ET. But let me say this though.
So and then in Face Off, you had the weird thing where everybody in the family would wipe each other's faces. I'm just like, what?
But let me say this though about that. The relationship between John Henry Irons and Sparks. In that, first of all, it's not a romantic relationship because, quite frankly, Shaquille O'Neal is not good enough actor to pull off. He barely can pull off what he does in this movie.
Yeah.
Like I said, mostly he gets by on his natural charm and his charisma, and
which he's not charming enough to make me like him in this movie.
Yeah, he's charming, but he's not, say, like there's some actors who have made a whole career just out of being charming.
You need like Tom Hiddleston level charm to make this piece of shit work.
Right. Some actors can just coast on his charm, stuff like that. He hasn't got quite to that level yet. What I did, and like I said, it would be ridiculous for these two characters to have a romantic relationship. But that kind of works because now we see a man and a woman in a movie who have a genuine friendship. Genuine friends, and they work together. And when she becomes crippled, he helps her, with her rehabilitation, and which is basically him just picking her up.
That scene in the VA clinic was just ridiculous, right? Because he walks in, she's all depressed, and all he has to do is punch the windows open. That's like just seeing sunlight suddenly heals her. And then he picks up her wheelchair and walks out, and everybody's cheering. And I'm like, what the hell
I love
is
that.
going on?
Oh, I love that. Yeah, the officer, the gentleman. That's what it is. The riff on the wall. He picks it up. And I swear they should have had When Love Lifts Us Up and play it. And all of the other inmates are going in there. And they have the guy. I'm sorry, folks. That's what it was. The one guy, he only has one arm, and you can see he's going like this.
I didn't even catch that. I was just
yeah.
Oh my God!
When he picks up the wheelchair and he walks out with it, and
I'm sitting there, I'm watching like you know what a wheelchair is, right? You understand the concept of a wheelchair.
It rolls.
Yeah,
but that is just one of the so many.
Kidnaps her, and he goes to St. Louis. He kidnaps her, and he takes her to South Central to this junkyard, and he's like, "You're gonna stay here now."
Yeah, and he brings her to the junkyard, and he opens up the bathroom like he expects her to really be happy about. Well, we've got a handicapped bathroom for you in the middle of this junkyard, and he looks at her because she looks like, you got to be fucking kidding me. And he looks back at her like he's really, what's the matter? You don't like it?
It's got this. There's this really creepy subtext that whole sequence.
Oh man! but like I said, I do appreciate the fact that they do try to take time, and Shaquille O'Neal and Annabeth Gish, they do take time to have scenes together where they try to work to build a friendship between their characters. And I appreciate the effort. If nothing else, I appreciate the effort.
As little as it was.
Oh, but and the thing with the wheelchair, that's just one of the many ham-fisted things. Like the fact that every 10 minutes in the movie, he does a thing where he tries to shoot a basket.
Oh God, yeah.
And he misses.
That was because I remember that was a thing going on in the 90s because Shaq was terrible at free throws.
Right, and they
make it a plot point at the end, right? When he has to throw the grenade, and Ray J has to teach him how to shoot a free throw to get rid of the grenade.
And I'm saying, wait a minute, this must be the only hand grenade that's got a 60-second fuse. Because he's actually telling him, okay, well, bend at the knee. First, he picks it up and he holds it for about 10 seconds while he's looking for it. And then, okay, then he hands it to him. He says, okay, well, bend at the knee. Okay, and remember your follow through.
Plus, don't they have a door right there? I mean, at the time it takes Ray J to teach him the free throw, they could have run out and thrown the grenade somewhere else.
Oh, for Pete's sake. And then the grenade blows up. They bust out of, okay, now they bust out of the place. They bust out of the place. They're on the street. And Ray J screams out, hey, you're my brother, aren't you? You're my brother.
Yeah, no shit.
I said, you know something? If this movie was a person, I would be slapping the shit out of it right now.
And he asked if he could be Robin, and I'm just like, oh god.
Yeah, I mean, like, really, kid? It took you that long to figure out that this is your brother?
Yeah, cousin, I think.
Cousin, brother.
Yeah. The relationship is just so weird. Yeah.
Who gives a shit?
It's just such a weird thing. It's like, Shaq's like what, like 35, and he's got like a 10-year-old little cousin or something like this. It's just
But to give him his credit, he looks good in this movie.
He looks good, yeah. The armor, not so much. You can clearly tell that it's a rubber suit he's wearing. Like the helmet is like folding off at the sides.
Yeah, and you can see that it's actually flapping in some scene. The little flaps on the side. They didn't even take the time to mold it to his face.
And I noticed in the opening credits, they actually credited the guy who designed the suit. And I imagine the guy in the theater watching this and just shaking, please don't tell people I made this piece of shit.
Please don't tell people I made that. Because, folks, first of all, we're not talking about Iron Man level armor here. Basically, that's what it is. It's just a suit of armor.
Yeah.
Now, and he's got like...
It's such a weird suit of armor because his hands are completely unprotected.
And it looks like he's got like chainmail.
Yeah, he's got like chainmail underneath and up, and his the lower half of his face is completely you're going up against experimental weapons. Don't you think it might be good to have a full face mask?
Yeah, just right, exactly. But again, it's the thing that the movie's being sold on Shaquille O'Neal, so we can't have his whole face covered up. The only offensive weapons, okay, he's got the thing because there's one part where he catches the guy that robs the old white couple, and he shoots the bolt out of his wrist to put him up against the wall. And then he's got like this wire that pulls him up. And at one point, Annabelle Gish says, you know what? You're wearing a suit of armor that's 75 pounds. That's when he tries to jump from one roof to another. There is no offensive weapons, and everything is in his hammer.
Yeah.
That's got like, the sound of cannon.
The sonic cannon thing, and then it's got the electro, it activates the electromagnet in his, why would you have the hammer magnetized? Because he turns it on, the hammer sticks to his chest.
Yeah. It's like I said, folks, this is not, we're not talking about Iron Man here.
Also, I remember the scene at the end, the climax, when he tells Judd Nelson, he's like, oh, don't turn the red thing. And Judd Nelson's like, I'm going to turn the red thing. I mean, it's just the dumbest fucking climax ever.
I mean, Judd Nelson, he makes Wile E. Coyote look like a genius.
And this guy's supposed to be a military scientist.
Yeah, and
that's what kills me.
He tells him, don't turn the red handle. And he looks at it and he said, well, I got to turn the red. Really?
You know what? See, I can buy Annabeth Gish as a military engineer. I cannot buy Shaq or Judd Nelson as military engineers, especially not the way they play these characters.
Not the way they played Judd Nelson in another movie, because Judd Nelson can play intelligent if he has to. This movie he is not required to play intelligent. So he just goes the other way and he just says, well, I'm just going to, just be goofy, everything like that. Like in the scene where the guy that he's supposed to be working with, he kills her assistant. And that's it. We have no explanation what happened after that. Didn't the guy ask, well, what happened to my assistant? Well, I dropped her down in the elevator shaft.
And the elevator blows up. I'm like, what the hell was... What kind of building has... It reminds me of, these scenes in The Simpsons where they make fun of it when, like, a car crashes and all of a sudden it explodes.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be a joke because that's not really what happens. But that's exactly what happens in The Simpsons here.
Exactly what happens here. We have a character that we never find out what happens to her.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the scene where they're in the police car?
Yeah.
And then they go to investigate now why a police officer is taking civilians to, instead of just opening up the door, instead of saying, listen, get out, I gotta go investigate. Yeah.
Instead she goes...
She takes them along with her, and then, the street gang, led by Hill Harper, another excellent actor who apparently owed somebody a favor, which is why he's in this movie.
I'm guessing Quincy Jones just called in a lot of favors for this movie.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I think it is. A lot of the actors that are on here. I mean, the black actors, and Richard Roundtree and Hill Harper, and there's a few others. That's what I think happened. Yeah. He called them up and said, "Listen, I need a favor," and they said, "Okay." And
after this, they're probably just like, you know what, you can lose my number now.
This female police officer who, from the little bit of dialogue that we did, we figured that they know each other from the old neighborhood. Mm-hmm. She gets caught in the crossfire, and John Henry pulls her out of the police car, and he tells Ray J to call for an ambulance. But after that, she disappears. We never find out if she died, if she recovered from her injuries. Nothing. No. So
it's like halfway through this movie, they realize, oh wait, Annabeth Gish can play the female character, so we don't need her now.
No, we don't need her.
And that's what it felt like. It felt like she was like supposed to be like a backup female love interest / best friend.
Or even they could have used her as a motivation for why he becomes Steel, because she gets killed by these weapons that he created.
Right, yeah.
So they could have used that as a motivation, have a funeral scene, and he says, okay, well, I'm going to make sure this doesn't happen. They killed my friend, and it was, my weapons that did it, and I'm going to make sure that, instead of just, because mind you, these guys are just robbing shit. They're just carrying on cranky and robbing shit.
Yeah.
And then Shaquille O'Neal, and for all of his height, the guy is 7 feet tall. He's simply not threatening at all.
No, that's the funny thing is like in the scene with like him and Judd Nelson are having that face off.
Judd Nelson is more threatening.
Exactly, yeah. Judd Nelson is more intimidating in that scene. The only time
Judd Nelson comes up to his navel, he looks up at him, and Judd Nelson has me more convinced he can kick his ass.
And ironically enough, the only time that Shaq comes off as intimidating is when he's carrying Annabeth Gish out of the VA hospital. That's the only time he's intimidating.
He goes into the, Den of Thieves with Hill Harper and all of it, and he's going in, he's trying to throw guys, and they're looking at him like, man, if you don't take your big ass out of here, we just, then really, I mean, when you see a 7-foot guy come into play, you're supposed to stop and back up and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, they're laughing at him.
He's as threatening as Andre the Giant in Princess Bride.
Exactly. And that's a problem when you have your main character. You want to present him as being, tough and he can handle himself. He's out. Jacob. I was actually scared he was going to get his ass kicked in there for a while.
I'm thinking now, Kevin Hart, tiny little Kevin Hart, would be more intimidating than Shaq.
Kevin Hart. Yeah, because Kevin Hart, once he starts jumping up and down, he's like, all that, you will, because you don't know which way this little guy's going. Yeah, that's a major problem in this movie.
Remember, what was that in when he had that cameo in 40-Year-Old Virgin, when him and the other guy are in they're just trying to get the discount, And he's like talking shit. Kevin Hart is more threatening in that one scene, which is played for laughs, than Shaq is in this entire movie where he's supposed to be playing it seriously.
Yeah. He and like I said, that's a problem. But you have, I mean, just by the fact of his height, he can't intimidate anybody.
Well, also that scene where they stumble upon the bank robbers, and it's got the most dumbass foot chase sequence I've ever seen in a movie.
You know what? I was actually kind of impressed he can run that fast.
I mean, I'm just like watching. I'm like, this is like the slowest, most ridiculous chase scene I've ever seen.
And he's jumping over fences and he's climbing over. I said, wow, he's pretty good. I mean, because it's obviously him doing it. Because I mean, they can't get anybody.
That was true. They couldn't find anyone who was tall enough to be a stunt double.
The stunt double, yeah. So I give him credit for that because it's obvious he's doing his own stunts.
Yeah,
and he's doing them reasonably well.
Something else, like after he catches up to the guy, he gets shot with one of these experimental weapons that can pierce a tank. And he's fine.
Yeah. We see him in the next scene. It's like, the guy shoots him dead in the back. Bam. Oh, shit. And he goes down.
The cop, who was barely injured, ends up in the hospital. He gets shot point blank range in the back, and he's fine.
Yeah.
I mean,
again, things happen.
Why does this guy even need armor now? That's what I'm wondering.
Well, things happen in this movie because the script says they're supposed to happen. Not that they have any kind of logic whatsoever. Because there is nothing logical about this movie. Where did they get the time and money to build the Bat Cave thing that opens up? That's it. I mean, okay, you can build that, but you can't build a decent weapon system into the armor.
And the cops, these are like the dumbest cops ever. Right? Because they're following right behind him. And it's like, gee, do you think maybe he went into that big mysterious junkyard with all the
they're Keystone cops.
Yeah, and they've even got the guy, the helicopter flying around. It's like, oh, there's nothing to see here.
Oh, nothing to see here. There's nothing but and Richard Roundtree, when he says beforehand, all they're gonna see is just nothing but a big old junkyard. And the cop says the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Up there, he says, this okay, what do you see? Nothing but a big old junkyard. I said, please, are you shitting me, really? So yeah, it's I'm watching it and I'm just saying, you know what? I'm trying to find something good to say about this movie. This is the only thing good I can say about this movie. This is a good movie to give to because it's a family-friendly superhero movie. It is. It's very family-friendly for all of the violence that's going on and everything like that. There's no like real violence, and I mean, there's no blood.
Right.
There's no bad language.
Well, even the cop even says, "Where did that son of a buck go?" And I'm just like,
right, yeah. I mean, this is a movie.
I'm wondering why this was rated PG-13 because
it's very much a PG movie. Yeah. But however, as sophisticated as kids are today, this would still even probably put them to sleep.
I think so too, yeah.
Especially now that they've got so many other options now. Yeah. It's not like back in the day when, like you said quite accurately, where when it came to superhero movies, you had to take what you got because there wasn't that much out there to pay. You know how bad this movie is? This movie is so bad that I do believe maybe you've been on the hub lately on the HBO Max. They have Catwoman. They don't have this.
Yes, yeah. That's right, because the first thing I did.
That is how bad this is.
That was the first thing I did. I went to HBO Max because I figured, well, it's a DC movie. This movie was made by Warner Brothers. Chances are it's on HBO Max. They got Catwoman. They won't put this on there.
They will not put this on there. How bad do you have to be where they would rather have Catwoman rather than Steel? That's how bad it is.
Apparently, I don't even think this is available on DVD. It's on Prime Video, but
yeah, it's on Prime Video.
It doesn't seem to be available. And I saw another review that some people did because I was doing some research. I saw another review that some people did on Comics Alliance. And they said that we couldn't find a DVD for it. We had to go back to the VHS copy.
Yeah. I mean, this is definitely a movie that like Warner Brothers and even Shaquille O'Neal would prefer that you don't, you know,
There's
you never hear him talk. You never hear him talk about it.
There's a Shaq Fu remake video game. He's more proud of Shaq Fu than he is of this movie.
Yeah. This is just like a movie that Warner Brothers like kind of wishes that it would just like go away and nobody would talk about it again.
Yes, yeah.
Because it is so far removed from anything. And you know me, I always say, you know what? I always try to say, well, you know what? Nobody sets out to make a bad movie. And, you know, they're sincere about what they're doing. And which is the only good thing I can say about this movie, folks, is that, yeah, you see that there is some sincerity in this. But it's just so ineptly made. I mean, okay, the main thing that it had going for it, which you pointed out, the main thing it had going for it was the link to the Superman.
Yes, yeah.
Michael, and they cut that off. So, I mean, you know, now you don't even have that. So what you have now is that you basically have a story about a vigilante giant in a suit of armor stomping around South Central, you know, with a bunch of crazy, goofy characters doing a bunch of crazy, goofy things. And and you know, that's it. Folks, all I can say is that if you've seen Steel, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you've never seen this, I am going to unequivocally give a stamp to it and say, do not watch this movie. Please don't watch. No, don't. There are plenty of movies that I would tell you to watch for one reason or another. There is absolutely no reason at all to watch Steel.
We've done what, like 50 some episodes now, and in that time, we've watched a lot of movies that a lot of people think are terrible, right? We've watched Batman and Robin. We've watched Swamp Thing. We've watched Nick Fury. And a lot of movies that people have a lot of complaints about. And, you know, there's reason to have complaints about some of them. In that time, there are only two movies I can honestly say have no redeeming qualities. This one and The Spirit of the ones we've covered so far.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm going to go out on a limb here. If you gave me these two movies and you put a gun to my head and said, Derrick, you have to watch one of them, I'd watch The Spirit.
I would too.
Because at least the Spirit is visually interesting.
And at least you got Samuel L. Jackson chewing all the scenery.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I'd watch The Spirit.
Yeah. And
bad as it is, but at least it's eye candy. I can look at it and I can say, okay, well, it's got the, you know, the interesting visuals going on, the special effects, and Eva Mendes, and you know, as you say,
Paz Vega as well. You got it, and Scarlett Johansson. So
exactly. You got all that going for you, and I mean, you know, and you have Samuel L. Jackson, like you said, chewing up the scenery.
Also, so something else that.
So at least there's that.
Something else I just thought of is he gets this job in the foundry, which is so weird because even if he doesn't want to develop weapons, he's a genius engineer. Like, those skills are transferable to other things.
Yeah, why is he working in the foundry?
Yeah, and you know, you think like maybe he's working in the foundry so because that's where he's going to build the arm, but the foundry never comes up again.
No, he builds it in the junkyard.
He's only in the foundry, and then you've got these two hot young women just randomly walking around the foundry.
And okay, they're dressed like they're on their way going out to the club.
Yeah,
but they got these cute little hard hats on their head. You know that. Why are you walking through a foundry in 5-inch stiletto heels?
Walking through the foundry on their way to the club, I guess. I guess it's a shortcut.
Oh, well, this is the shortcut to the club.
Or maybe it's like do you remember that episode of The Simpsons when Homer's worried that Bart might be gay and he takes him to the steel mill and it turns into a nightclub? Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's the steel mill from that episode of The Simpsons.
I don't know. Maybe that's what's going on now.
I mean, in this movie, there's so much illogical shit that happens. It would not surprise me.
Now, what would have been more interesting and would have made more sense is that in the next scene when he says, okay, he wants to get a job, in that we see Shaquille O'Neal in a suit and tie going to the same company that Judd Nelson goes to looking for a job. Well, you know what? I want to use my skills to bring joy to people. I want to design games, for kids and stuff like that. Which having the both of them working there at the same time would have made for a more interesting plot development than anything else that we
Although it still would be ridiculously coincidental.
It would be ridiculously coincidental, but like you said, it would make more sense for him to go put those skills he has to some use and stuff like that. Why would you go work in why are you going to work in the foundry when we just had a scene where your grandmother tells you that your whole bed is covered with job offers?
And this is like the weirdest foundry ever, because apparently they've got he can just take off work anytime he wants, because he spends all his time in the fucking junkyard.
We only see one scene where he's in the foundry. Well, two,
yeah.
One where we see him originally, and then one where he's on the phone to St. Louis.
Yeah.
And one of the chicks on her way to the club, she gives him, I guess that's his check. I don't know. She gives him a piece of paper. We don't know what's on it.
And then he just hops on a plane, goes to St. Louis, kidnaps Annabeth Gish, takes her to the junkyard, and we never see or hear of the foundry ever again.
We never see or hear of the foundry again, which again, like you said, you logically would think, okay, well, he's going to build a suit of armor there. You know, no, he builds it in the junkyard on an anvil.
Well, yeah, and also like Richard Roundtree's character just comes out of nowhere as well. It's just like he just takes her to this junkyard. He's like, oh, by the way, here's my Uncle Joe. He has this junkyard, and we're going to build a suit of armor.
Yeah, and he's got some computer part that I guess that's the script's way of telling us that he's a genius too. Because he tells her, oh, yeah, well, this is a high max 8069 with a 6 gigahertz processor and everything like that. And then he makes a sly reference, because she asked him, she said, well, where'd you get it from? He said, oh, well, things fall off the truck all the time here. Just make enough. Here, just make a list of what you need, and we'll find this stuff. So in other words, you're stealing this shit. That's really what you're doing. Which again, if we had seen that he was like a master thief, that was like stealing all these computer components and everything, that still would be more interesting than what we got in this movie.
Yeah. And also, I remember the scene at the beginning when he lifts the concrete off of Sparks, and they linger on that scene for so long, and Shaq's face when he looks like he's trying to strain again, it looks like he's taking the biggest shit of all time.
Yeah, again, it's another scene where he's this big guy, and you're supposed to, because in the comic book, John Henry Irons, he's such a big guy that his strength is almost near superhuman anyway.
Yeah.
But you don't get that in this thing, because like you said, they linger so long on him, like trying to strain this piece of, which is a big piece of concrete, okay, admittedly. But it's not, I don't know, there's something not right about that shot. Like you said, they just linger on it too long.
Yeah.
And he's not a good enough actor to convey effort without strain.
Yeah.
Like he should look like he's having an effort to look it, but like you said, it looks like he's trying to, he's having like this bowel movement that he's really
which is kind of telling you what kind of movie you're gonna get. Right?
Yeah.
My theory is like that is him about to shit out this piece of shit movie.
He's simply not that good an actor. He's not.
Yeah,
he's not that good an actor. I mean, you see him today, he's doing these little 30-second commercials, which is to give him his due, that's the extent of what he can do.
Yeah.
Which is why he never made any more movies. I think he made 3 movies.
There was there was Kazam, and I'm pretty sure there was some other ones, but I'm blanking on them now.
Yeah. That was it. He made 3 movies and that was it. Because, he's simply not an actor.
No.
Fred Williamson, he's not. He's not even Jim Brown.
No. He's been in a lot of movies in like small parts, but I think Kazam
like cameos.
He's done a lot of cameo stuff. But I think that Kazam and Steel were the only ones that he was really supposed to be like, these were supposed to be like his star turning roles. But I mean, he couldn't even get like Hulk Hogan type of acting career out of his fame.
Okay. Know what he was good in that I saw a couple of years ago? There was a movie called Uncle Drew. But he played a basketball player.
Oh, yeah.
So it wasn't like a stretch
Right.
for him in that. Yeah, it wasn't like a stretch. Now he was good in that one. Because again, like I said, he was playing a basketball player. Yeah, Hulk Hogan wasn't an actor either, but he had something that Shaquille O'Neal doesn't have. First of all, Hulk Hogan knows how to be threatening. You know, he could do that. And I would say that arguably, based on he had more of a fan base than Shaquille O'Neal. He did.
Also, as wrestling is, there's a lot of acting involved in that too.
Right. Exactly. So
like Hulk Hogan had that like manic stare and intensity that it can be fun to watch.
Right.
Shaq doesn't even have that. Like he's got nothing other than he's got really nothing at all to offer. And
and like you said, I didn't think about it that way, but yeah, you're right. Professional wrestling is a certain level of acting that you got to bring to that anyway. So so Hulk Hogan, and so because he's got nothing to fall back on here, and like I said, he tries to carry the movie with charm and charisma and sincerity, and to a certain point, it works. I mean, there's some scenes he has, with the woman that plays the grandmother. That's kind of sweet, and and sincere. But
I didn't feel it. For me, it just felt too. What's the word? It felt way too like it felt like way too family sitcom level sincerity, and it's just like dialed up to 11.
Yeah,
so that's why it didn't work to me. It's just like I just found myself rolling my eyes at all those scenes.
Well, as we both said early on, this is basically a TV movie. This should have never been. First of all, this should have never been put in the theaters. This should have been put on, like Saturday morning.
Yeah, I'm wondering where did that $16 million go?
So listen, somebody put that shit in their pocket and walked away. They did. Somebody put a big chunk of that money in their pocket and they just walked with it because it's not on the screen.
No, definitely not.
It's not. I've seen movies made for half of that much that looked like it was made for 2 or 3 times that much.
Yeah.
But it's not. It is definitely not. It's definitely not in this movie. This is like one of those movies that they made it like. I mean, for somebody got a tax break.
Yeah.
That's what. Yeah, that's what this movie feels like more than anything else. Somebody made it as a tax dodge or to launder money, or yeah.
So somebody's got to have a look into Quincy Jones's finances, see what he was trying to hide with this.
Serious. Yeah.
But
because and even though this movie was filmed in Los Angeles, you don't really see a lot of recognizable locations and stuff like that. You see like a shot here and there of the skyline, stuff like that. But like usually when you film in like Los Angeles or New York or something, you see recognizable landmarks or something.
And I've never seen Los Angeles so fucking empty. There's like nobody. There's like no extras in this movie.
It's a curiously depopulated Los Angeles. It reminds me of what's that movie? Excuse me. The Warriors. You ever seen The Warriors?
No.
Okay. Basically, you don't see anybody in the movie except for the cops and the gangs.
Oh, okay.
That's it. There's nobody else. New York is like curiously depopulated. In the Avengers movie, and I'm talking about the one with Mrs. Peel and John.
Oh, okay, yeah.
London, you don't see anybody. It's curiously depopulated. Yeah.
Well, also the Burton Batman movies, kind of, especially the first one, had kind of that where it's like because it was all filmed on set. Like, there's not a whole lot of extras in that movie either. It's a very depopulated Gotham City.
Yeah. I mean, you don't see a lot of people. You don't see street scenes.
No.
Like with people just walking around, which you usually do see, and you have like these montage shots of people going to work and hanging out in the park.
Well, even in the foundry, right? I think like Shaq and those 2 women going to the club are the only ones who work in that foundry.
You see a couple of guys in the background doing something. You don't know what they're doing, but they're like way in the background.
Yeah.
You don't see. It's a curiously depopulated Los Angeles. There's not like I said, somebody took a big chunk of that money and they walk with it.
Mm-hmm.
They
and
did.
also, there's the scene too where Shaq breaks the phone. Right, he's on the payphone. He just slips. He breaks the damn payphone right off
for no reason at all.
For no reason at all. And then also,
and then there's one guy on the street that stops and looks at him. One guy.
Yeah. I mean, you got a giant here who just breaks a public payphone, and it's just like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
And also, the military, right at the end, they come in and arrest Burke. I'm like, what? How is the military operating on U.S. soil? They're not allowed to do that.
Well, did they ever find him? Because
yeah, they get him at the end, I think, or they come in at the end at least, and they arrest some people.
They come in at the end, but I think he gets killed because
yeah.
Charles Napier makes reference to something like, well, they're still picking up his teeth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because remember that he fires the massive cannon that's on top of the Humvee.
Right. Yeah.
And steel turns around and it bounces off his back, which is the stupidest way of killing a villain I've ever seen in a movie. Yeah. Except for Moonraker. And it hits the thing and it drops on him.
Yeah.
Explodes and everything like that. Yeah. So he's dead.
Yeah, but I still don't understand how the military is even operating on foreign soil like this. It just doesn't make any sense. And how, again, everybody is so fucking stupid in this movie because Charles Napier never thinks, gee, maybe the weapons developer who warned me about Burke is the 7-foot-tall black weapons developer who warned me about Burke. Maybe he's connected some way to the 7-foot-tall black guy in the suit of armor who just stopped Burke.
Unless in this universe, you got a whole bunch of 7-foot-tall black guys in armor just stomping around South Central. That's this is the only way. Okay, this is even better than what people always complain about. They always complain about, well, I don't see how Clark Kent can get away with just wearing just a pair of glasses and nobody knows he's Superman. I don't see how John Henry Irons gets away with nobody hooking him up with. Well, do you think he could be Steel? I don't know. I don't see it. Really?
I mean, what? I mean, you think just because there are these two 7-foot-tall black guys that they got to be the same person? Do all 7-foot-tall black guys? Yeah.
Oh, well, that's racist now. You just be racist. Every 7-foot-tall black. I see where you're going with this. So every 7-foot-tall black man wearing armor has got to be. Oh man!
Also, I love when he's riding up the escalator that comes out of nowhere. After
he steps on the escalator, like the escalator comes out of nowhere. He hands her back this stuff, that purse and everything like that. And listen, on behalf of the city of Los Angeles, I'd like to apologize for this, and you take care of that. And he steps on the escalator that was not there. 10 seconds ago, that escalator was, and he just glides. Oh, I cracked up.
It's like I think what happened is, I imagine they're getting there and they're filming this scene. And they're like, okay, so this is the scene where he flies away. And someone else is like, well, wait, no, we don't have flying in the budget. It's like, oh, shit. Bring in an escalator.
Right. Because I actually rewound it. That escalator was not there in the previous scene. They said, well, we got to do something. And he can't fly. He steps back on, he just glides. And they're looking at him, they're going.
Even they don't know where the fucking escalator came from.
The man's looking at his wife like, oh man. But it's good we can laugh about this.
You gotta laugh because otherwise you gotta drink.
It is.
It's 11 o'clock in the morning. It's too early for that for me.
I mean, listen. I can't. Listen. I will never watch this again.
Oh God.
But you know what? While watching it, I had a good time laughing. I did. I had a good time laughing.
I'm just sitting there and
that scene I'm glad you brought that up because I remember watching that. I said, wait a minute, where did the escalator come from? And I rewound and said that escalator was not there 10 seconds ago.
It's funny.
they had to move location. They had to find an escalator. And okay, well, you just step back and just go up.
So when I started watching this movie last night, I had Cotino was off doing something in the kitchen or in the room or something. So I was looking after Helena, and I'm holding her. And as soon as the movie starts, I look down at her, and she's looking up at me. She's like, "Are you fucking serious?"
Even the kid knew.
Yeah, and I'm telling her, I'm like, because newborns, they don't really have any long-term memory. So I looked down at her. I'm like, I really hope this isn't your first long-term memory.
Oh no.
And then Cotino comes in, and she starts watching part of it, and she's like, "Do you have subtitles for this?" I'm like, "No," and trust me, you don't. You're glad. Yeah, you don't want to watch this.
You don't want to watch this. Trust me, you don't.
So that was Steel, and
that was Steel.
And it's so disappointing that we haven't gotten anything else, because Steel is a legitimately awesome character in the comics.
Yes, he is. He is. He is one of my favorite characters. And I can only hope that sometime in the future, somebody will make a movie that will do this character justice.
Well, now that we got Superman and Lois, I think that would be and you've got stuff opening up on the WB. I think now would be the perfect time to introduce Steel, and through Superman and Lois. Because
we can only hope.
We can only hope. I mean, I'd much rather see them do like a Steel series than whatever the Black Lightning spinoff is with what's his name.
Yeah, that's a really curious character to pick to do a spinoff.
Yeah.
Instead of one of the daughters or something.
Yeah,
like that, which is what you would think would be the natural, logical thing. That's kind of weird.
It is, yeah. Or do like an Outsider series and have Cress Williams continue on as Black Lightning and bring in what's her name, who played Katana on Arrow.
Yeah.
That would be a better idea as well.
Yeah, definitely would be a better idea. There's half a dozen better ideas that I can think of than that one character. But then again, this is why I don't work in TV.
Yeah, but hopefully we get something. Honestly, if anybody from DC is listening to this or watching this on YouTube, Christopher Priest did a Steel solo series back in the 90s. And it's never been collected. It's not available like anywhere. So put that shit out put out some trades with that thing.
Yeah. Because the character that we get in the comic books is almost like a Tony Stark type character.
Yeah.
He builds the ironworks and he becomes like the weaponsmith, to the Justice League and stuff like that. So he is legitimately an awesome character.
Yes.
With a tremendous amount of potential if you put the time and money and decent writers and directors into it. Yeah, a Steel series could be fantastic.
Yeah. So that was Steel. I'm gonna have to drink after I'm done with recording this.
Folks, it's over. It's done with. You will never hear me mention Steel again.
Yeah.
Good reason. So that's it.
Yeah,
that's it. We've done Steel.
We've done Steel.
So if there's one thing that we take away from this, I will have to find a new bad movie to threaten.
God!
But I will not be threatening you with Steel anymore.
So that means we got one final movie for Black Superhero Spotlight. Now, since this was your idea, since you came up with the list, do you want to pick the last movie, or do you want me to pick it?
You can pick it. Listen. You sat through Steel, so I owe you, man.
All right. Well, I'm not going to be as cruel as you were. So I thought about doing Spawn as revenge, but I decided I'd be nice. I mean, you did give me Deadpool 2 for Christmas, so I figured let's go with Blade 2.
The best of the bunch.
The best of the bunch, yeah. So I figured we're gonna end this month on a high note and go
on
out
a high note, yeah,
with a good Black superhero movie.
Oh, one of the best. One of the best.
Yeah.
Not only a good superhero movie, a good horror movie.
Yes, yeah. And
effectively blends horror and superheroics into a near perfect mix.
And action too. Like
one of the best action movies I've ever seen. Yeah.
And some of the best one-liners, right? Like, you got it's entertaining as hell. It's funny as hell. It's just
a very funny movie.
It is, yeah.
It's a very funny movie. It it comes damn close to being comedy,
It does, yeah. Especially when you got Ron Perlman riffing all the time in it.
Ron Perlman, I was about to say, yeah, I mean, Ron Perlman, yeah, he walks away with a lot of the best one-liners in this.
Yeah.
Thing. And just his whole attitude and demeanor.
Yes, yeah. So join us next week. We'll conclude this month's spotlight on Black superhero movies with Blade 2.
Mm-hmm.
And in the meantime, head on over to Facebook. Go to look up Superhero Cinephiles, our Facebook group. We got a Facebook page as well. Like those things. Please, if you like the show, rate and review it on Apple Podcasts, on Stitcher, on YouTube. Subscribe to us on YouTube, because the more subscribers we get, the more people get to see this. So,
and tell your friends. If you like what we're doing, share it with your friends.
Right, yeah. And superherocinephiles.com is our website, and we're on Twitter and Instagram at Super Cinema Pod on both of those. And that does it for this week. Thanks so much for listening, for watching, and we'll catch you next time when we talk Blade 2.
Okay. Thank you for suffering, folks.
Yes.
I love you.
Yeah.
I appreciate you. I will not do this to you again. Good night. God bless.
You have been listening to the Superhero Cinephiles podcast. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Super Cinema Pod. Join our Facebook group by searching for Superhero Cinephiles, where you can interact with us and other superhero fans. If you'd like to support the show, you can become a regular supporter at Patreon or make a one-time donation through PayPal, both of which can be found at our website, superherocinephiles.com. If you buy or rent any movies through the Amazon links at our site, it helps support the show. Please be sure to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts.
Thank you for listening. And as always, good night, good evening. God bless.